Yo ho ho, Don Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. And before I get into this video, I need to thank you guys for allowing me to take the day off yesterday. I really appreciate content creators that have the ability to drop content on a daily basis, because let me tell you one thing, Don Mafia, that is exhausting. Thankfully, while I did take my day off yesterday, that's even up for debate because I was on a live stream mock draft and I was on an AFC East roundtable, but I decided to not drop a video on probably the most lackluster and unexciting day during the Bills offseason, and that just so happened to be the walkthrough. But today, we have a shit ton of exciting news for you today because the Buffalo Bills had an on-field scrimmage in Bills Stadium. Starting offense versus backup defense, starting defense versus backup offense. And we have a couple of storylines that I do want to drop to you, and it's just going to make you forget that Dan Mitchell did not upload yesterday. This is about to be a banger. Ladies and gentlemen, before I dive into that, I need to remind you, me and Aaron Williams dropped our very first episode of BLEAV in Bills yesterday. And so you can find that on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And trust me, we covered a bunch of burning topics. And so including the state of the Buffalo Bills today, what Aaron has been up to, and most importantly, how he feels about the Jarvis Landry situation 5 years later. From what I like to think, me and Aaron have developed some type of chemistry, and I think you guys will enjoy the podcast. It's long-form Buffalo Bills content. Do me a favor and visit the links, whether or not that you listen to podcasts on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. Click that link, listen to it, and tweet me at @RealDanMitchell and tell me what you thought. It would mean the world to us. So yeah, Don Mafia. So going into the scrimmage today, of course, I need to start off this report with the injury report. And that just so happened to have a bunch of familiar names and a couple of new ones. Starting off with Pat DeMarco, Taiwan Jones, Tommy Sweeney, who I don't believe has practiced a single snap the entire training camp. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. John Feliciano, who we all know suffered a pectoral injury. He won't be back till week 5, week 6. Corey Thompson, Josh Norman, who we are praying to the football gods that he can get back as soon as possible. Christian Wade and Stephon Diggs. I know, I just said Stephon Diggs. Calm the down. From what I understand, Stephon Diggs just had lower back soreness, and he decided to take the day off, and the Buffalo Bills were completely fine with it, and I am also 100% fine with that decision. We can't risk our number one receiver being injured prior to the season. That's the injury report for today. And so now it comes down to the main stories, and I mean, honestly, I need to start off with the biggest story. Most YouTube creators, they save the biggest story right to the end, but you know what? I respect your guys' time, and we're just going to go on ahead and we're just going to dive into the meat and potatoes, baby. And that just so happens to be Josh Allen. Now, there's been a little bit of concern for Josh Allen because it sounds like that he's been peaks and valleys all throughout training camp. And I mean, granted, you need to understand that this is his first time actually being in a real football environment. And since last season, since there's been virtually zero offseason whatsoever, but Josh Allen had a day today, ladies and gentlemen. Josh ended up going 34 for 45, which is a 75% completion rate against the backup defense. And on top of that, had 3 touchdowns to his name, 2 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. And granted, he did end up having 1 interception. According to Thad Brown, the interception was nowhere near his fault, and we will end up getting into exactly what happened with that interception later on in this video. But so far, it has been a hell of a day for Josh Allen. And might I mention, for all you 300-yard mofos out there, Josh Allen ended up eclipsing 300 yards, finishing the day off with 304. So, granted, this is against the backup defense, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to see this for your starting quarterback. And especially once you compare how Sam Darnold did against his backups right with the New York Jets, then I mean, things are looking up for the Buffalo Bills, let's be honest. So we need to give a tip of the cap to Josh Allen to show that, hey, and so us Bills fans, we're on board for that MVP run, baby. We are on board. And so as far as our starting defense is concerned, it sounds like that our starting defense completely destroyed our backup offense. That says great things for our defense. It says a bunch of terrible things for our depth when it comes to offense. But apparently the defense made the backup offense life a disaster today. And so apparently the backup offense experienced constant duress from our defensive line, and our secondary absolutely made their lives impossible. The only highlight from the backup offense today was a 25-yard run from TJ Yeldon, but besides that, it was legitimately a shutdown experience. And so I know that Quentin Jefferson ended up having 1 sack and 1 tackle for a loss. And so, of course, our boy Trey White had multiple pass breakups. Sleeper pick to make the final 53-man roster, Mike Love recorded 2 sacks. Overall, the defense was running like a well-oiled machine, and we couldn't be happier from a Bills fan's perspective. And so real brief, just going back to the Bills' first-team offense, you need to understand that they had an absolute tremendous day, especially once you consider that Stephon Diggs was not even a part of the entire situation. And the Bills' offense scored a touchdown on their very first 3 drives, and of course, the sweetheart of training camp, Gabriel Davis, showed out 110%. Catching a total of 6 passes for 60 yards. Granted, he did make a mistake. He misread a pass and ultimately was the cause for Josh Allen's 1 interception. But really, at the end of the day, guys, I love what Gabriel Davis is bringing to the table. And I even was in a conversation on Twitter with a fan earlier today saying that the way that Gabriel Davis has been playing in training camp, don't be surprised if he's our number 2 receiver by, let's say, week 5 or week 6. We ended up finding a steal when it came down to the draft. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we had a lot to cover today during the Bills scrimmage. Now, granted, we did have the first-team offense going up against a bunch of backups and the first-team defense going up a bunch of backups as well. But it sounds like that the Bills are like really becoming a well-oiled machine. I love the continuity, and so I love the consistency as far as from a roster perspective, and the new additions have been meshing very well. I think we have a lot to be excited about throughout this season, and I really want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about today's scrimmage? How pumped are you that Josh Allen finally ended up eclipsing 300 yards and had a 75% completion rate day? And so you tell me whatever the hell you want in that comment section, baby. Say that you're new here. My name is Dan Mitchell. I regularly put out Buffalo Bills content, so I highly recommend subscribing to the channel. Say that that's your cup of tea, and there's no excuse. You need to smash the out of that like button. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in once again, and above all else, let's go Buffalo.